Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to day one of Republic Day Forensics 2024. If you can see deers on the picture and poster, what you need to know about IIT Madras, because last year we did it offline. There were deers in the debate room, which is really cute. So if you like deers, and if you will be able to see a lot of them in IIT Madras if you qualify, which I find pretty cool. So we also used to call it deer debate because like deer are also like debating around us. Obviously not with us, can't debate with us, but yeah, that's also there with respect to Republic Day forensics. But the logo of IIT Madras is really important because the contribution of IIT Madras in terms of technology is extremely good, which means that yes, you will be extremely privileged to actually go and speak at IIT Madras. So again, this is a very prestigious tournament, gives you a large chunk of exposure. So as I already told you in terms of what IDL does, IDL trains, IDL organizes tournaments. As well, we send people to participate and we train them in order to participate in international tournaments as well. If you don't know Harish Natarajan, please go and Google him. We also made him debate with ChatGPT. He was able to beat ChatGPT as well. He is one of the greatest debaters. This is one of the times when we had one of our first IDL editions, 2021. And you can see we also organize a debate tournament, which is similar to IPL because you can represent your own state. So the one screenshot that you can see is a state from Maharashtra, kids debating. They were all very enthusiastic and also very into the idea of like representing their team per se. We've also had multiple people representing India in different places such as NSTA, Yale, Harvard, LSE, etc. Because I think, as I said, it's not just you competing at local level and improving your skills, but at the end of the day, you would want to improve your skills in order to make sure that they're also represented in different areas and bigger prestigious places as well. So this is what the key tournament dates are going to look like. 9th to 11th is going to be your training dates. Now, I want to make it clear, 9 to 11 is the dates for all those who are going to be participating in qualifiers for 13th Jan. So if there is anyone who has opted for 21st Jan, go ahead, and if you like, your training sessions are all anyways going to happen I think from 18, 19, 20. So that's how your training sessions are going to be. But like this particular training session is for 13th qualifiers right now. But if you want to still continue listening to the training session, that's completely all right. We don't have any issue with that. So your training sessions, I'm so sorry, it says 6 to 7 p.m. It's going to be 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. So that's something I'm going to edit before I send those slides to you. So there are three things that we're going to do. First is going to be theme explanation and introduction to your format. So I'm going to give you what is the structure, what's the flow of the debates, etc., etc. But tomorrow, I'm going to tell you specifically as to how you're supposed to make arguments, how you're supposed to go ahead and make your rebuttals, your constructive speech, your cross-examination, how can you make sure that you have good evidence cards, etc. 13th is going to be your time for qualifiers. You're going to have 3 rounds, which means everybody gets to debate for 3 rounds. You don't have a choice of opting out of any round because with each round, you get points, which means that in first round, if you win, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get 0 points, which means these points are then added to till third round. So if you miss a round, that is like an automatic 0. But also on the top of that, your individual scores are being calculated. And just so you know, basic math, the way how average works is summation of all rounds divided by 3. So if you don't participate in one of the rounds, your average is going to like drop down really bad. So even if you've done extremely well in 2 debates, we won't be able to qualify you. So attend all 3 rounds and debate all 3 rounds. All right. And obviously, if you qualify, you're going to go to 26 January in IIT Madras. The thing that has to be clear here is that everything is online until 13th of Jan. 26 Jan is going to be offline at IIT Madras. So specifically, session 1, session 2, session 3, I'm going to update the timings for you. But before that, can anyone quickly tell me as to what is the theme of tournament if you're already aware about it?
Democracies.
And the highs and lows of democracy.
The high and low of democracy.
The highs and lows of democracy. But what do you think it means? Any kind of explanation by anyone? You can just try.
Like the merits and demerits of using democracy in a nation.
Merits of and democracy. Okay.
Merits and
That's a
demerits.
good way of interpretation. Okay. Anything else?
Disadvantages and advantages of democracy.
Okay. How many of y'all actually love puns? I love puns, which is why the theme is also a pun.
What is a pun?
Pun, pun. Soham?
Yeah, I don't know about the pun, but I feel this talks about like the greatest highs, like when democracy has really benefited the world, and times at which democracy has not been the best thing to happen.
Okay, but why would we do that on Republic Day, specifically when we're celebrating a time which is basically like when the constitution came into effect, and that's when we basically declared that that democracy is going to be the form of governance of India. Why would we do that on Republic Day?
Ma'am, this is because we need to know what are the problems with democracy as well, ma'am, because everyone knows that democracy is not perfect. Even Ronald Reagan said that. So we
Correct.
have to know what are the problems with democracy as well. Like, are there any alternatives? Is there a
Okay.
better system than democracy and things like that, ma'am?
Okay, Amit, what's your answer? And then after that, I have one question for everyone. I want like an answer to that. Amit, what's your answer?
Ma'am, my name is not Amit.
Okay, it shows Amit. So if you want to like just change your name then.
Ma'am, my name is Rudra Gupta.
Okay, Rudra, go on. If you wanted to answer something, you can go on.
I wanted to say that democracy has been like the biggest thing in the most of countries. Like when the democracy, most of the times when democracies goes up, but no one is getting the job. That's very, you can say that that country is not very well treated at that time.
Okay, okay. My question to you all now is, how many of y'all think democracy is the best form of government?
Work together, then country can become more higher. Right now, India is the highest.
No, let's just not compare India's democracy. Let's just think of democracy as a concept. And then tell me if you think democracy is the best form of government.
I don't think the democracy is exactly the best form, because if you rule too many states at one time and like almost take over the entire country, it can turn into a dictatorship like North Korea. But in
Okay.
other countries,
You know, what's more interesting to me is that the theme is not even related to what we're discussing right now, but I'm just enjoying what your perspectives are with respect to political ideologies. But let's go back to what the theme actually is. And I'm going to emphasize on the fact that it's a pun, which means highs and lows of democracy is actually not whether democracy is bad or good. It's actually about law. So law in democracies is what the theme is. LAW is the pun, it's not LOW. So something that you need to just like pay attention to. So theme is highs and lows of democracy. How did we come up with this theme? It's just simply the idea that Republic Day is celebrated on 26th January, and it's just to and it's to celebrate the idea that India was able to, form a constitution in more than like 2 years, 11 months, and some days. And the constitution came into effect. We declared we're a democratic republic. We declared that we're going to be, we basically like gave a couple of rights, couple of duties, and so on and so forth. But constitution is very important for any country simply because it's the grand norm, or it's the supreme law of a nation, which guides other laws and other statutes and bylaws that exist in the world, in the country, which means that any law cannot be derogatory to constitution, and constitution has to be something that has to be upheld, right? For example, any law cannot restrict your freedom of speech unreasonably, particularly, or any law specifically or unreasonably cannot restrict your right to life, and right to movement, and so on and so forth. which is why constitution becomes really important. But constitution is not just about rights, it's also about, how the government is going to function, how other institutions in country are going to function as well, which is why the theme of RDF tries to incorporate the essence of law in different arenas, specifically in countries, developing countries like India. And the topics which are going to be there for your debate, LD, and public forum are going to be variety of concepts, just or are not actually not going to be, because it's going to be one of them that I'm going to talk about. So criminal justice system, ongoing policies, legal theories, rights and duties, etc. So your topics are going to be one of them. But just so you know, in public forum and in Lincoln Douglas, you only have one topic that is going to be remaining the same for the entirety of the tournament, which means one topic that is going to be given for Lincoln Douglas, one topic for public forum, and you are going to research so thoroughly in those topics that you should know everything about that topic, and which is why most of these topics are going to be very research heavy, and you would have to read a lot. And this is what the aim of the entire tournament is. We want you to read about law because that's really, really important for anyone, irrespective of whichever age you come from. Now, in order for you to understand the theme properly, two things. Highs and lows of democracies has two connotations. One, obviously high and low of democracy, as in ups and downs in the challenges, or the challenges that are faced by the largest democracy for making and implementing laws. So it's not just always about parliament making laws. It's also about whether people want the law that is being implemented. It's also about whether the law is required, whether the law is appreciated by people, because at the end of the day, people are the ones who are guided and governed by the law that the state is giving, right? So there are different challenges that come across for the government, for the executives, for the judiciary, whenever we're making or implementing laws, or we're discussing the validity of laws. So we're going to have topics which would discuss things like what are the challenges that are faced by such largest democracy in implementing and making laws. And secondly, highs and laws is basically anything and everything that about law in democratic nation. That these are the two connotations. But I want you to tell me one law that has been in question currently in news a lot. So something that is being debated a lot in India. I want to know if you all follow current affairs. Anjo, do you have an answer?
I'm sorry, ma'am, but no.
Okay.
I do not have an answer this time. I actually forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
No issues. Is there anyone else who has been following law, is interested in law, has seen like parliament debates on, let's say, amendments, or just laws being passed? Or if not right now, if you want to give me an example of a previous law that people did not agree to, people protested, you can talk about that as
It's not
Citizen Amendment Act Bill.
a little.
Which, wait, what were you saying, Divya Rani?
Citizen Amendment Act Bill was one of the controversial law.
Yes. What else?
Another one of the laws passed in the parliament was where the government passed the law that elections should be held at one time in India.
Okay. Pralad Madhu.
It was criminal, like the criminal laws that were passed a few days ago.
They are
like
being
what's the issue?
consolidated, yes.
Yeah,
That's also very good. So you're following current affairs. Anjo, do you have an answer now?
Actually, this law was passed during British India, the Rowlatt Act, ma'am.
The Rowlatt Act, okay, like previously, and people protest for it, fair, yes. So we're gonna probably see more in terms of what's happening around currently, and we're gonna probably find a topic which is going to be making you research about that topic, but also is very relevant right now, because one thing which is very good about Lincoln Douglas and public forum as a topic in general is that these topics are very relevant to the country that you're debating in. So it's going to be very related to India. Secondly, it's also going to be very relevant to what's happening currently in terms of policy making and policy, like what policies are going to be passed. So yes, so it's going to be very relevant and something that is going to be helpful as a research, not just in the debate, but in general for your life. Are there any specific questions for the theme? Just so you know, the theme is how we will derive topics for you. This is not your topic. This is a theme that is going to stay throughout the tournament. You're going to be getting your topics tomorrow. Any doubts then? If not, we're going to go into the structure and format training. All right. Lincoln Douglas. What is Lincoln Douglas? Can anyone quickly, if anyone can tell me the full name of Lincoln and full name of Douglas, I will be very happy.
Lincoln is Abraham Lincoln, ma'am, but
Ma'am,
I
is it?
don't know for
I'm not
Douglas.
I'm not sure if it's Stephen Douglas or Christopher Douglas. I'm not sure.
Okay, any other answers? So Abraham Lincoln, pretty fair. I mean, very easy.
Mom, the other one was Stephen A. Douglas.
Yes, yeah. So Ritvik, you were also correct. It is Stephen. So the way, yes, Dia.
Lincoln, sorry, Abraham Lincoln.
Yes, correct. So the reason as to why this becomes important is that the entire debate format is literally made based on the series of debates happening between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen A. Douglas, which became like a way of, let's say, affirmative and then negative, cross-examination, rebuttals. So whenever policies or any kind of value judgment debate comes into picture, Lincoln Douglas became like a very big thing in US, which is why this format is called Lincoln Douglas. It's 1 versus 1 format. Now, what happens in Lincoln Douglas is mostly like debates where you have to have evaluation of value judgment based on logic, based analysis. But the idea is that you're not just framing arguments, you're framing arguments based on evidence. Now, this evidence is obviously coming from, let's say, journals, books, articles, and stuff like that, where you can also quote your articles, you can also quote your journals, the research that has been made in order to make sure that, in order to portray how legitimate your research is. So the first thing that you need to know about Lincoln Douglas is obviously it's not exactly the parliamentary debates that exist, but it is a 1 versus 1 format. You will be paired against one person. The second thing is whoever is proposition or government is going to be affirmative. Whoever is going to be the opposition is going to be negative. Affirmative supports the motion, negative opposes the motion. Now, the second thing is,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes,
Wasn't this format either partner 2 versus 2?
no. So Lincoln Douglas is 1 versus 1, public forum is 2 versus 2.
But you're covering both right now, right?
Yes, so I'm just only covering Lincoln. So I'm talking to you about Lincoln Douglas, and then I'm going to give you structure of Lincoln Douglas and then public forum.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
But and one more question for the public forum, when will we get? Because I asked the IDEA people, they said we are allowed to choose our own teammate. So when will like the teams be made?
Yeah, so if you have given your choice for teammate, then you'll be only paired with them. But yeah, you'll get your teammates by tonight, I believe. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, Kian.
Ma'am, so basically in Lincoln Douglas in the crossfire round, we can only give a rebuttal, or can we give it in a main speech also?
Yes, so all of these questions are very good to ask tomorrow, because tomorrow will give you specifics of, how are you supposed to make your rebuttal speech, how are you supposed to make your cross-examination. So all of that is going to be considered. Now, there are 3 things that you should remember, which is why I'm just telling you the basics ideas of what you need to learn in order to do a good Lincoln Douglas debate. The first thing is constructive speech. Second thing is rebuttals. And third thing is cross-examination. Constructive speech is your positive speech. Rebuttals is obviously a negative speech, where you're telling as to why your opponents are wrong, or whatever they're saying are based on assumptions, and so on and so forth. Your cross-examination is your questions to your opponents. Now, this cross-examination is not back and forth, because in Lincoln Douglas, it's just one person asking the other person questions, and then the other person only answers, they don't question you. But in public forum, it's a back and forth process. So that's one difference that exists in public forum and Lincoln Douglas. But in terms of rebuttal, obviously, as I said, rebuttals are again going to be a negative speech on like what opponents have done. But last thing, in all of these things, you also need to know and learn how to make evidence cards. I'm going to teach you that tomorrow. So tomorrow, 4 things that you should expect from the class is going to be 1, how to make constructive speech, how to make rebuttal speech, how to have good cross-examination, how to make evidence cards. So all of these questions, do not ask me right now, because it's pretty long, but also you'll get that anyways tomorrow. So what is the structure? The structure is going to be this way. First, affirmative gives the first constructive speech, followed by negative asking questions on the affirmative's constructive speech. So assume it this way. Let's say I'm affirmative. After I'm done with my speech, you're going to ask me questions. Now, your questions are going to be based on what I said in my speech. Now, again, I'm going to tell you what the timings of each thing is, what's the timing for constructive speech, what's the timing for rebuttal speech and cross-examination, etc., etc. Right now, just try to understand the flow, okay? So I gave my speech, you ask me questions. After I'm done answering my questions, you're going to go ahead and give your constructive speech. So you're negative. Negative delivers their constructive speech, post which I'm going to ask you questions. So affirmative now is going to ask you questions on your speech. So constructive speech by affirmative, questions on affirmative, then negative constructive speech, and then questions on negative speech, right? Post which there's going to be a rebuttal speech. Affirmative gets rebuttal 1, and then negative gives rebuttal, and then affirmative gives rebuttal. The idea is affirmative speaks for three times, negative speaks for 2 times, but the difference is that the total time that both speakers are going to get is going to be equal, which means your rebuttal speech is going to be shorter. Rebuttal 1 speech is probably going to be shorter, which is why the total is going to be like completely a particular time. Just understand the flow right now. I'm going to tell you time in a bit. So any doubts on the flow or like per se, or if there are no questions? Kashish, what's your
Ma'am, I
doubt?
just have one question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, when we'll get to know that we are in the favor of the motion or against the motion?
Good question. So tomorrow, when I release the topic, day after tomorrow, I'm gonna make pre-allocations for rounds. So you will know whether you're in round 1, who you're going against, and whether you're proposition or opposition, and which round you're proposition for, and which room you're supposed to go to.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Time for the debate competition.
I'm sorry, what?
Will you also send the time, like when it happens, when the
Correct.
rounds happen?
Yes. So the rounds on 13th are going to happen from 3 onwards, 3 p.m. onwards, but the specific schedule is going to be released shortly.
Okay, ma'am.
Kashish?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that in public forum, like we have a partner assigned to us from the same grade as us, or like
Yeah, so it's the same category, not necessarily the same grade, but yeah, same category, yes.
and also I had another question. Can I switch from public forum to Lincoln Douglas right now?
Yes, you can, but just email or like text us on Hello Audi number.
Ma'am,
Yes, Ritvik.
I had a doubt. Will the topic be given first and then the allocation of whether you're affirmative or negative, or is it the same time?
Yeah. So irrespectively, because the topic is going to be given to you tomorrow, but you're supposed to prepare for both sides because everyone gets to at least do affirmative, negative once because there are 3 rounds in total.
Okay.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, ma'am.
Yeah, Dia.
Will Ogly assign us our public forum partner? Can we make a team ourselves?
Yes, if you have a choice like already, then you can tell us. If not, Augli is going to assign it.
Ma'am, one last question.
Hmm.
Ma'am, will we have the same topic for the 3 rounds or there will be 3 different topics?
No, same topic for the 3 rounds.
Ma'am,
Okay, ma'am.
Harnik, yes.
ma'am, in cross-ex, basically we just have to POIs about either affirmative or negative speech, right?
No. So POIs concept-wise is similar, but not exactly the same. But your idea is, in terms of, you asking questions is actually fine. So you can, but like it's basically like in POI, you have the ability to dodge a POI, but in cross-examination, if you don't know it, you can't dodge it. Okay, let's move forward. Speech timings for Lincoln Douglas. Junior category, affirmative constructive speech is 4 minutes, negative constructive speech is 5 minutes, affirmative rebuttal speech is 2 minutes, negative rebuttal speech is 3 minutes, affirmative rebuttal 2 is 2 minutes, cross-examination is going to be 2 minutes for all, which means the first time when negative is asking questions to affirmative, it's going to be for 2 minutes. And the second time when affirmative is asking questions to negative, it's also going to be for 2 minutes. Now, I want people who have good maths to tell me as to what's the total time that affirmative is getting for speech and what's the total time that negative is getting for their speech.
Ma'am, 10 minutes for
10
affirmative.
minutes, ma'am. 10.
And what's the timing for negative?
Ma'am, 10.
10.
You're all wrong. It's 8 minutes. Cross-examination is not speech. So 4 plus 3 plus 2, wait. 4 plus 2 plus 2 is 8 and 5 plus 3 is 8, which means it's equal, but the only difference is that affirmative is getting 3 chances. Can anyone tell me why affirmative is getting 3 chances?
And they have to give introductory speech as well, ma'am.
No,
We
because
always keep the positive.
so constructive speech is like literally the same for both affirmative and negative. So that's not an introductory speech per se. Tell me, why do you think the debate ends at affirmative? Is there any other format that you've come across that also ends with a positive speech? Yes, Kashish.
I think in World School Debate,
Correct. Yes.
in the what is the in the
Reply
I forgot the name of the last round. It happened
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, reply speech is ended by prop reply. Correct. Good job. So yes, the reason as to why affirmative ends the debate is because for making it equitable, because listen, I'll show you the graph again. Affirmative goes first, negative can respond to them. Affirmative goes next, negative can respond to them, which means negative always has the ability to actually respond to like the affirmative, which means that it's not equal in terms of, you know, how it's ending, which is why affirmative gets another chance so that they can actually rebut what negative has said. So it's equal in terms of, you know, affirmative also starts, so let affirmative also end it. Moving on to middle category, middle and senior category, the timings are same. Affirmative is 5 minutes. Sorry, constructive speech is 5 minutes. Negative constructive speech is 6 minutes. Affirmative rebuttal is 3 minutes. Negative rebuttal is 4 minutes. Affirmative rebuttal is for 2 minutes. Cross-examination is going to be 3 minutes for all. Can anyone now tell me, do maths and tell me what's the total time that affirmative and negative are getting?
Affirmative
23 minutes.
13 minutes.
10.
It is 10 minutes. Yes, so both are getting 10 minutes in total. Good job. So I hope there are no questions on how much time. So obviously I'm going to send this PPT to you so you'll have more detailed understanding of how much time each person gets.
Ma'am, can you just go back to the junior category timing? I just want to take a picture.
Yeah, you can, but I'm going to send this the slide. Okay, let's go to public forum then. Public forum is going to use two kinds of terminologies. It's either going to be affirmative or negative, or it could be pro and con. If pro and con is obviously for the motion, con is against the motion. Now, terminologies are similar, different, but the idea is at the end of the day, one is supporting the motion, one is opposing the motion. Now, the next thing that you need to know, it's again 2 versus 2, which means 2 people are in one team and they're basically going against like one team is going against the next team. Most of the times the topics are very contemporary issues, as I told you, and it's going to also have the same kinds of speeches: constructive speech, rebuttal speech, summary speech, final focus speech, and cross-examination. Now, in this cross-examination, you get to ask each other questions. For example, the difference is I ask you a question, you answer the question, you then again ask me a question. That's cross-examination in public forum. But then in Lincoln Douglas, I ask you a question, you respond to me, I ask you another question, you then respond to me, and I continuously ask you questions. You can't ask me questions back. So again, similarities in Lincoln Douglas Public Forum, you'll have evidence cards, you will also have similar ways of how you're arguing. You'll also be quoting websites and articles. This is the flow of public forum. Pro speaker 1 does the first constructive speech, followed by con speaker 1 when they do constructive speech. Now, what you need to know in public forum, you always have crossfire after one set of similar speeches. What it means is, once both constructive speeches are over, you will have a crossfire between the first speaker of proposition and first speaker of con. Second time, you will have second speakers giving rebuttal. Second speaker from pro goes first, second speaker from con goes next. Once this set is over, they will both have a crossfire, which means only the second speakers will now be asking each other questions. The third one is the first speaker goes again and gives a summary speech, and then there's a grand crossfire. I'm going to cover what grand crossfire is in a bit. But then there is second speaker who goes again and gives a final focus, and then con goes and gives a final focus again. So there are 8 speeches. Each speaker gets to speak twice. Speaker 1 gives 2 speeches, constructive speech and summary speech. Speaker 2 gives 2 speeches, rebuttal speech and final focus speech. After first constructive speeches by pro and con, there is a crossfire between the first speakers. Then there is second set of speeches, which is rebuttal speech by second speaker and of pro and con. Then there is a crossfire between the second speakers only, which means in the second crossfire, the first speakers can't answer. And in the first crossfire, the second speakers cannot answer. What do you think would be different in the grand crossfire?
Ma'am, all speakers come up and ask each other questions and answers.
Yes, anyone can ask questions, anyone can answer, which is why it's grand crossfire. So that's the only time when, let's say, if your teammate wants to ask question and the other teammate wants to answer, that's all right. You can basically be each other's supporters there. So that's how I know a lot of questions are going to come on what am I supposed to do in constructive speech? What am I supposed to do in rebuttal? What am I supposed to do in summary and final focus? All of it is going to be answered tomorrow. I'm going to give you full detail and like what's the structure of your speech. So don't worry and don't ask these questions right now because it's going to be a repetition. Speech timings then, but before that, are there any questions for Flo?
Ma'am, I have a question, but it's not
Yes,
related to
certainly.
flow.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
yeah, yeah.
can we use like something to clarify something? Can we use in the internet like Google or something?
No, I'm sorry, what?
Can we use like Google during the debate round?
No, you cannot. But the issue is that, yeah, just don't use Google in good conscience. Just don't use Google. Have your research pre-made. Okay, if there are no questions, then speech timings. Constructive speech is for 3 minutes. Rebuttal speech is also for 3 minutes. Summary speech is for 1 minute. Final focus speech is for 1 minute. And cross-examination, all of them are going to be for 2 minutes, which means first cross-examination, first crossfire for 2 minutes, second crossfire for 2 minutes, third crossfire is also for 2 minutes, which means total 6 minutes of crossfire. Which is for junior category. For middle and senior category, constructive speeches become 4 minutes, rebuttal speeches become 4 minutes, summary speeches become 2 minutes, and final focus speeches also become 2 minutes. Cross-examination becomes 3 minutes. This is actually the real format. So for middle and senior category, the timings that are given to you is ideal public forum topic timings. Yes, Prahlad?
Just checking, because a lot of the like previous public forum tournaments that I've done, summary is also like 3 minutes. So here for senior category also it's just 2 minutes. For final
Yeah.
focus and summary both are 2 minutes each, right?
Yeah, 2 minutes each, yes.
Okay, cool.
But also, like, I want to confirm, I think summary has always been 2 minutes in all the tournaments that I've gone to.
Okay, I'm not sure. I do a lot of NSDA ones.
Yeah.
There it's usually been 3, but 3 and final focus is always 2. But sure, I mean that's
Yeah, I mean, could be different, yes, sure.
yeah.
Cool. No, but it's going to be 2 minutes summary speech, 2 minutes final focus. Okay. If no doubts, your topics are going to be given tomorrow. Important clarifications I've already given you. Motion is going to be this. Resolution is going to be the same for all 3 rounds. Again, for public forum, it's going to be different. For Lincoln Douglas, it's going to be different. You're supposed to attend all 3 rounds. You can refer to sheets, but do not read the entire speech. Specifically for Lincoln Douglas, do not read your entire speech. Again, average of all scores are going to be taken. So your wins and your cumulative scores are very important. Now I'm going to stop sharing and I'm also going to stop recording because that's all I wanted to teach for today. But I want to take